Welcome to my channel. Have you ever noticed that the moment that changes everything isn't the fight, the heartfelt talk, or even the time you laid your feelings bare? It's when you quietly stop showing up. No warnings, no grand goodbye, just space. And in that space, something shifts. She starts noticing the empty chair where you used to sit, the silence where your good night text used to be, the stillness where your presence once filled the room. That's when the weight of your absence starts speaking louder than anything you could have said. In today's video, we're going to unpack why stepping back without a word oft leaves the deepest impact, and how it's not about proving your value, but letting it speak for itself. The quiet she never anticipated. Number 1, the quiet she never anticipated. When you pull back without warning, without any dramatic exit, you leave a stillness she didn't prepare for. She thought she had your rhythm mapped out. Your calls, your texts, your predictable patterns. But now the music stops. No back and forth. No attempts to explain yourself. Just space. And in that space, a stoic man feels at home. He knows not every moment needs to be filled. Sometimes the absence of words speaks loudest. Here's the shift you need to notice. By stepping away, you reset the entire dynamic. She begins to weigh things she once overlooked. Your time, your effort, your presence. This isn't about punishment or games. It's about turning your focus inward, reclaiming your attention, and letting go of what isn't yours to control. Her reactions, her interpretations, her attempts to pull you back into familiar patterns. When you stop over-explaining, your standards do the talking. When you stop pursuing, your value stops being treated like it's endless. Distance, used with discipline, forces a kind of reflection. No speech ever could picture Athos. You don't send the late-night paragraph. You don't try to prove your worth. You stick to your routine. You train. You work. You keep promises to yourself. You don't block her. You don't post anything aimed at getting her attention. You simply carry on. A day goes by. Then 2, she rereads your last message. She checks if you've posted. She wonders why the usual chase isn't there. And in that empty space, the questions start. Did I misjudge him? Did I take him for granted? Has he stopped orbiting me? That inner shift born from your restraint teaches more than any midnight explanation could. Withdrawing like this can feel risky, but a man rooted in principle knows what Epictetus meant. We suffer more from our imagination than from reality. Don't create worst-case scenarios. Live with composure. Let your steady presence, or lack of it, be the lesson. When she searches for the old you, the one who overgave and overstayed, she won't find him. She'll find a man who treats his presence as a privilege. And privileges are worth more when they're not handed out carelessly. That's the truth. Stepping away becomes the mirror where she finally sees the cost of losing you and the strength of the man you've accustomed to be. Number 2, the mirror of reflection. The mirror of reflection. Your absence forces her to face herself. There's no one to distract her from her own thoughts. No constant stream of your attention to validate her. She begins replaying memories, wondering if she misjudged you, she undervalued you. Like a Stoic, you've given her the space to wrestle with reality on her own terms. You don't step in to ease her discomfort. You let the mirror do the work. And this is exactly why your absence teaches her more than your word-seaver could. Explanations invite debate. Silence invites honesty. When you stop filling the gaps, she starts noticing them. The missed calls, the empty message thread, the weekend you didn't triaring just to be available. Each one becomes a quiet lesson, not a punishment, not a game, but a boundary. In Stoic terms, you're choosing what's within your control. Your time, your energy, your responses, and releasing what isn't her interpretations, her emotions, her choices. Picture this. You used to text goodnight every night. Lately, you've been at the gym, finishing that course, tightening up your routine. No drama, no speech, just life lived with purpose. She opens your chat, scrolls, types, hey, deletes it, types again, and finally sends, how have you been? That message isn't small. It's the sound of realization. She's not chasing attention. She's trying to understand why your world keeps moving without her as its center. Or imagine running into her at a mutual friends get-together. You're warm, polite, present, but not orbiting. YOLO, you talk, and when the conversation ends, you return to your friends and your plans. No hovering, no hint of need. That calm distance says more than any speech about needing space. It shows her you meant it when you chose your peace over performance. A Stoic doesn't advertise self-respect, hells it, and people feel the difference. Your absence isn't ice, it's clarity. It holds the truth without raising your voice. I won't negotiate my standards to keep your attention. If she values you, she'll step toward you with effort and respect, not breadcrumbs and mixed signals. If she doesn't, your silence protects your center and frees you to invest in what grows you. Either way, the mirror keeps teaching and you keep moving. Before we move on, think of Buthus. How often has your silence said more than your words ever could? That's the power we're talking about. Share your thoughts in the comments, or, if you felt this truth, simply type power in pause. And don't forget to hit like. It tells me this message is landing with you. Number 3, the shift in power. The shift in power, pulling away, isn't revenge. It's a reallocation. Instead of pouring everything into her, you pour it back into yourself. She feels that shift fast. You're not orbiting her anymore. You're moving in your own lane. That's Stoic detachment. When your peace no longer depends on someone else, you take back control. Think about the last time she canneled. Most guys argue or sell your value. You didn't. You said no worries. Have a good night. Then trained, read, or finished work. No speeches. No drama. That calm pivot is more than any text. Your time has purpose. Your attention is selective. And your mood isn't for sale. From her side, the silence is loud. Why didn't you push? Why didn't you negotiate a spot in her night? That curiosity is the power shift. You're elevating the dichotomy of control. You don't manage her choices. You master your response. Your absence becomes a mirror of standards and self-respect. Access is earned, not assumed. Antithermament, 11:47 p.m. Hey stranger. Or a heart on an old story. You don't sprint back, you sleep. After your workout and deep work, you reply, warm, not needy. Good to hear from you. I've been focused lately. Purpose first, response second. Your world moves with or without her. Detachment isn't cold, it's clarity. You appreciate connection, but you're led by principles, not pressure. You invest in what you control. Routines, craft, body, circle, sleep. The steadier you become, the less reactive you are, and the more gravity you carry. She notices the contrast. Others talk their way back. You stop needing to. You don't beg for clarity. You create it by how you spend your time. That's the quiet power of absence. It teaches without a lecture and sets a boundary without a scene. So before you send the long message, breathe. Ask the Stoic question. What's within my control? Your effort, your schedule, your response, your standards. Put your energy there and let your absence do the explaining. In a noisy world, calm distance is undeniable. Number 4. The space that changes thee. The space that changes the air. It's strange how absence can change the way a place feels. A room, a street, even a song. Suddenly it lands differently without you there. The chair you once sat in feels like it's leaning the wrong way. The air is the same, but the warmth is gone. She notices it, even if she never admitted out loud. The Stoics understood the weight of presence, but they also knew the echo of its removal could be just as powerful, sometimes more. You've left an invisible imprint. She keeps bumping into a shapine, the air that used to be you. Here's how it plays out in real life. It's Friday night, the time she used to get your made at home text. Short and simple, but steady. Nothing arrives. She opens your chat, scrolls up, rereads an old exchange, types a few words, delete a SIM, locks the phone, unlocks it again. The barista at your cafe asks if she wants the usual, and she hesitates because the usual wasn't just a drink. It was you sitting across from her. The place still smells like coffee and rain, but your seat is empty, and the room sits crooked and hermined. Later, a song you once sent comes on in a shop, and her chest tightens in thought, split second before she skips it. She scrolls through old photos at night, stops on one where you're laughing, and quickly turns the phone face down as if the image could bite. You never gave a speech. You never defended your worth. You simply removed your presence, and now the space you left behind is doing all the talking. From a Stoic lens, this isn't punishment, it's alignment. You've stopped feeding what doesn't feed you. You've reclaimed your attention and placed it where you control the outcome: your body, your craft, your discipline, your peace. Marcus Aurelius would call it a return to what's within your command. No drama, no grand declaration, just a quiet recalibration. That calm distance becomes a mirror she can't avoid. And mirrors don't argue, they only show. They show her choices. They show her effort or lack of it. They show her exactly where the balance between giving and taking was broken. And without a lecture, your absence teaches what your words never could: that your time was a gift, not a guarantee. That your warmth was precious and deserved reciprocity. That your life keeps moving, Gavin, when someone else chooses to pause. Slowly, she starts asking herself better questions. Why does the air feel heavier without you in it? Why does the room feel lighter now that you've stopped trying to fix its weight? Why did she only feel your gravity once it was gone? Where entitlement once sat, respect begins to grow. Where predictability once lived, curiosity takes root. You didn't change who you are. You changed what you entertain. And in that single shift, she learns the lesson every Stoic man knows. Presence means nothing without appreciation, and absence is the most honest reminder of both. The end of predictability. Number 5. The end of predictability. When you were always there, always available, she could predict you. Now that's gone. She doesn't know when you'll call, when you'll show up, or if you will at all. That unpredictability's curiosity, and curiosity is the seed of attraction. Like a Stoic warrior, you remain steady in your values, but your movements are your own, never dictated by her expectations. And here's the quiet truth. Your absence teaches her more than your words ever could. You're not punishing. You're prioritizing. You're not playing games. You're guarding your peace. She starts to ask herself the questions you used to answer for her. Where is he? What's he focused on? Did I take him for granted? And those questions do the heavy lifting you once tried to do with long talks and explanations. Think about a simple scene. It's Friday night, and she posts a story she knows you'd normally react to. This time there's no reply. Not because you're angry, but because you're finishing your workout, then cooking your own dinner, then reading before. The next morning, you check your phone on your schedule, not out of reflex. You respond when it's convenient and appropriate, with calm, with clarity, no edge, no neediness. That small shift reorders the dynamic. She realizes your life doesn't revolve around her timeline. It revolves around your mission. The Stoics call this living in accordance with nature, doing what is yours to do at the right time for the right reason. Your consistency's in your standards, not in your availability. Or imagine she reaches out to clarify things. The old you might have jumped on a call, explained yourself, filled the silence with reassurance. The man you are now sets a time that fits your day, keeps the conversation concise, and lets your actions say what words can't. You've returned to your center. You're courteous, but you don't overextend. You listen, but you don't plead. You led with boundaries, not speeches. That's the lesson she absorbs in your absence. Your value isn't up for negotiation, and your attention is earned, not assumed. This is what makes your presence feel different when you do show up. You're lighter, more focused, harder to read in the best way. You're no longer predictable because you're no longer performing. And paradoxically, that steadiness inside you creates movement inside her. Curiosity becomes interest. Interest becomes effort. Effort becomes respect. That is the quiet arc of a Stoic man. Control what you can, release what you can't, and let the silence translate what your voice no longer needs to say. Before we move on, I want you to sit with this for a moment. How would your relationships change if you stopped making yourself predictable? If you stopped rushing in to fill every gap? The shift isn't about withholding. It's about reclaiming your time, your focus, your center. It's about moving in a way that's true to your own rhythm, not the rhythm someone else expects from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever pulled back and seen the dynamic transform? Drop your story in the comments so I know this message landed with you. Number 6. The proof of self-mastery. The proof of self-mastery: walking away without an argument. Without bitterness is an act of strength most men can't manage. But you've mastered the art of restraint. You choose not to react because you don't need to. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And in this moment, your self-mastery says more than any defense ever could. Your absence becomes the lesson she didn't expect to receive. Your note punishing. Your positioning, removing your energy from a space that no longer respects it. Instead of trying to convince her with explanations, you let reality do the talking. Here's what that looks like in real life. After a heated exchange, she expects a rebuttal, a midnight paragraph, a list of reasons why you're right. You give her none of it. You set your alarm, train, eat, clean, handle your business. You don't post a cryptic quote or call a dozen times to clear the air. You let the air clear on its own. By the afternoon, the silence has done what speeches never do. It highlights the contrast between impulse and intention. She sees a man who doesn't trade his peace for proximity. That quiet is not emptiness. It's discipline in action. Another day she texts, "We need to talk." You don't sprint to prove yourself. You reply when you're free, not when you're frantic. Happy to talk when we're both calm. No edge, no ego, just standards. That one line carries the weight of Stoic practice. You control the response, not the outcome. Marcus Aurelius would call it staying with what's within your power, your choices, your tone, your time, the rest. You allow it to unfold without grabbing at it. And slowly, your absence starts teaching. It teaches that attention from you is earned, no tacit. It teaches that respect is the minimum for access, not the reward for drama. It teaches that you will not argue your value because your life already demonstrates it. When you move like this, you become both clear and rare. Clear about your boundaries, rewind your composure. She may not say it out loud, but she feels it. Words try to persuade. Self-mastery convinces. Your silence is not a retreat. It's a reminder that you lead yourself first, and everything else follows. Number 7. The reminder she can't escape. Every day there's something that reminds her of you. A place, a phrase, a laugh shears from someone else. And every time she feels that gap, in Stoic thought, what we take for granted often becomes the thing we finally see clearly when it's gone. Your absence isn't a performance. It's a quiet boundary that lets reality speak without you having to picture this. She walks into the cafe where you used to meet. Your usual table is open. The barista still remembers your order, and the chair across from her feels louder than any message you could send. Later, she hears a song you once played in the car. Instinctively, she reaches for her phone and then stops. That tiny pause is the lesson-taking route. Your presence wasn't background noise. It was signal. You're not punishing her. You're protecting your peace. You've shifted your energy back to your training, your work, your purpose. That's Stoicism in motion. Choosing what's within your control and letting the rest unfold. No lectures, no speeches, just a calm, discipline at withdraw that shows you won't argue for your value. The more she can't access you on demand, the more she notices the imprint you left behind. She scrolls through old chats, smiles at a joke you made, types out a message, then deletes it. Your absence becomes a mirror, reflecting her choices back to her without a single word from you. And here's where it really turns. Ordinary mints start carrying your signature. She passes the gym you go to and wonders if you're there. Focused, earphones in, mind on your sets. She runs into a friend who mentions your latest project and realizes your life is moving steadily, quietly without her as the center. Marcus Aurelius would call this alignment: doing what's right, saying what's true, and leaving the rest alone. You don't chase. You don't correct the narrative. You let time and consistency teach what explanations never could. So hear me on this. Your absence is not emptiness. It's structure. It's you choosing standards over speeches, direction over drama. If respect returns, it's because she recognized the difference between your presence and our availability. If it doesn't, you're already on your path. Either way, your silence teaches her more than your words ever could. Take a moment to think about how this plays out in your own life. Have you ever noticed how stepping back, not in anger, but in discipline, changes the entire dynamic? How the space you create starts speaking louder than any explanation you could give. That's the kind of power that doesn't shout, yet it's felt everywhere. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Or if you've ever seen this truth unfold, simply type "absenteeas wait," so I know you're with me. And pay attention. What's coming next will take this idea even deeper. The energy redirect number 8. The energy redirect. Instead of chasing her, you pour your time into yourself, your body, your craft, your mission. And over time, their salts speak for themselves. She sees the changes, hears about your progress, maybe even stumbles across a photo. The Stoic man knows that the best answer to loss is growth, and that growth becomes seer. Unspoken message. Think about it like this. A month ago, you were up late waiting on her replies. Now you're up early finishing a workout before sunrise and polishing a project that actually moves your life forward. Saturday used to be for long, uncertain conversations. Now it's for skills, editing your portfolio, learning a new tool, dialing in your nutrition. You don't post Topra of anything, but a friend tags you at a 10. Kelvin, or a clip of your presentation makes its way onto a story. She doesn't hear long speeches from you. She sees a different posture, a steadier presence, a life that's gaining momentum with her as the center of it. From a Stoic lens, you've shifted from reaction to creation. You place your energy where control actually lives, your choices, your effort, your standards. You practice the calm discipline of doing what's in front of you well and letting that outcome land where it may. No arguments, no see what you lost speeches, just quiet consistency. That's a Marathi in motion, welcoming reality as it is, then using it as raw material to build something better. Picture a simple moment. You're at a coffee shop, headphones in, sleeves rolled, refining a proposal. She walks in with friend San, does a double take. You don't rush over. You don't avoid her either. A nod, a relaxed smile, then back to your work. Later that day, a mutual friend mentioned Sue, been training 3 days a week and mentoring a younger colleague. No drama, no stunts, just a man who redirected the current instead of letting it drag him under. Your absence from her orbit becomes a presence in your results, and results are hard to ignore. Maybe she scrolls and pauses on a photo where you look grounded, eyes clear, shoulders flexed, not trying to impress anyone. Maybe she hears that you turned down a weekend trip because you're preparing for an exam, or that you're sleeping earlier and reading again. Those tiny signals add up. They teach her what your words never could. You didn't disappear to punish. You stepped back to grow. And that growth creates a contrast she can feel. The version of you she thought she understood is evolving, and evolution is magnetic. This is how your absence becomes a teacher. It teaches her that your attention was never guaranteed, it was given. It teaches that a man who guards his time, protects his peace, and invests in his purpose is a man who can be managed with breadcrumbs. Most importantly, it teaches you. You learned that the same energy that once chased can be converted into strength, skill, and direction. That lesson lived, not spoken, is the message she hears the loudest. Number 9, the test of her perception. The test of her perception. Without your constant reassurance, her mind begins to wander. Was she wrong about you? Did she underestimate what you bring to the table? Your absence turns her certainty into questions. The Stoics warned against false judgments. Now she's forced to test her own. And this is where your absence teaches her more than your words ever could. Think about last week. You didn't send the usual good morning text. You didn't rush to explain why you were busy. And you didn't leave a breadcrumb trail for her to follow. You hit the gym, handled your work, called your father back, cooked a decent meal, and went to sleep early. No drama, no speech, just a life in motion. She notices the quiet and tries to fill it with stories because that's what the mind does when certainty leaves therum. The Stoic move is not to chase those first impressions, but to let reality prove itself. By stepping back, you give reality the space to show itself. The more you stop correcting her perception with explanations, the more her own judgment has to meet the facts of who you are. Disciplined, self-directed, not dependent on her attention to feel whole. Maybe she expected you to be on standby for her late-night call, but you were at a class finishing reps, or preparing for an early morning. When she finally reaches you, your tone is calm and unbothered. You're repolite, present, and then you return to your schedule. That's detachment in action, not coldness, but priorities. A Stoic doesn't argue his value. He lives it. And when your actions are consistent, her narrative has to adjust. The man she thought she could read becomes the man she has to reevaluate. In time, the lesson lands. She sees your absence didn't punish her. It protected your focus. She sees your silence wasn't a game. It was self-respect. The old label is always available. Too invested. Predictable. Don't survive contact with evidence. And here's the quiet victory. You never had to plead your case. By fusing to be the narrator of her story about you, you made that story meet the truth. That's the test of her perception, and it's one your restraint helps her pass. Now, take a breath and sit with this. When you stop narrating, reality becomes the narrator. If that one's hit like so, this message reaches more men who need it. And share your take in the comments. What story did your absence rewrite? Or if you want to keep it simple, just type reality over reassurance. Next, let's build on this and show how that quiet consistency flips the dynamic without a single speech. Number 10. The lesson in boundaries. The lesson in boundaries are not punishing her. You're showing her that your time and presence are earned. You're not an endless resource. Marcus Aurelius wrote about valuing your own mind and your own time above the noise of others. By staying away until it aligns with your own path, you teach a lesson she'll remember long after the feelings fade. Look, I'm not telling you to play games. I'm saying you move like a man with standards. When she sends a late night, you up after ignoring you all week. You don't sprint to reply you're asleep because you've got training at 6 a.m. when she cancels plans last minute and tries to reschedule on her terms. You don't argue or explain. You calmly say, that time doesn't work for me, and get back to her life. That quiet refusal to bend communicates more than any speech. It says your attention isn't a tap she can turn on and off. In Stoic terms, you're guarding what's in your control, your choices, your schedule, your focus, and letting go of what isn't her reactions, her mood, her timeline. Epictetus would call that discipline of assent. You'd automatically say yes to every pull on your energy. And here's the paradox she feels immediately. Vehement, you stop over-delivering. She starts noticing the weight of what you used to give. Your absence becomes aerialer, measuring respect, effort, and reciprocity without a single word. Picture a simple weekend. You'd plan to hike early Saturday and lunch with a friend. Friday night she texts let's shong tomorrow afternoon, like the past flake never happened. The old you would reshuffle everything to make it work. The man you are now replies the next morning after your hike. I've got plans today. Let's set something up in advance next week. No edge, no attitude, just clarity. She may feel a sting, but it's not cruelty. It's a boundary. And boundaries create contrast. She can see the difference between when you are endlessly available and when you're a man whose life has structure. You don't post cryptic stories. You don't subboot. You don't broadcast lessons. Stoicism performance? It's posture. You say less and live more. When you do engage, you're direct. I value consistency. If we plan it, I'll be there. That kind offline draws a clean frame around your presence. Over time, she adjusts or shadowsent. If she steps up, confirms plans, shows up on time, communica, you meet her with the same energy. If she doesn't, your distance stays. Your absence becomes a syllabus. Respect, reliability, and reciprocity are prerequisites to access. Seneca warned about scattering attention everywhere. A man who's everywhere is really nowhere. So you choose to besimware fully with your work, in the gym, with friends who pour back into IO. That's why your absence teaches more than your words ever could. It proves your life moves with or with her. If she learns the lesson and meets you at your standard, there's something to build. If not, you've already producted your piece and kept momentum. Either way, your boundary isn't a wall, it's a gate, and you decide when it opens. At the end of the day, brother, conclusion, this isn't about using absence as a weapon. It's about using it as a mirror. When you step back, you give both yourself and her the chance to see things clearly. You see where your energy belongs. She sees what it feels like when it's no longer freely given, and in that space, truth has room to breathe. The Stoics knew that the loudest lessons aren't shouted, they're lived. So you live yours. You focus on what's in your control, your discipline, your growth, your standards. And when you move like that, you don't have to convince anyone of your value. It speaks in every choice you make, whether you're there or not. If this video resonated with you, hit that like button. It lets me know this message landed. Drop a comment and tell me which part spoke to you most, or share your own experience with the power of stepping back. And don't stop here. Check out the videos on screen now. They'll take you even deeper into mastering yourself, protecting your peace, and living with the kind of presence that can't be ignored.